Hi, welcome to JadeCon Gaming. My name is Adam, and today I will be unboxing the Dungeon Tiles Reincarnated for the Wilderness. Now, this is in the, of course, obviously by the style, 5th edition era, bringing back a 4th edition product, and from what I can tell, it looks like there's probably some modifications. I actually got the original Wilderness Dungeon Tiles set, and that was back maybe within the first year of me starting the channel. And I got that because I found it in a Dent and Ding section of gaming store and picked it up for cheap. Basically, this one, not Dent and Ding, but still, I found it on sale for $10, and I was like, you know what? I may not use those Dungeon Tiles very much. I use the Paizo's tiles a lot more than Wizards of the Coast's official ones, but I have a decent collection of them, and it's not like I'll never use them. And especially for a wilderness environment, I was like, I don't have too much if I want to make just a big outdoor environment. It doesn't hurt to be able to add some stuff to that, so picked it up, and we'll check it out. Of course, new art here for the front cover with the fancy ampersand dragon on the sleeve. So the sleeve has that. Of course, the same style on the spine, design on the back. Basically, they're dungeon tiles. They're allowing you to build this, and it looks like the box is the same. Usable as a small little encounter pack. As it was before, space in the box taken up by a bit of cardboard, so the box is bigger than what the tiles directly require. And big stack of tiles that'll punch out of the cardboard. Alright. And so this has the same. If you have any of the other dungeon tiles, this is the same texture, and you can almost tell the texture by the way the light hits them. It kind of has this sort of cross hatch pattern here. But right off the bat, this does not look familiar. So, and I believe the idea is some of these are the same as the Wilderness pack from before. Other of the tiles are from some of the other sets that would fit the theme. Because they had, of course, the core sets like this was, but then they also had sets that were, for certain adventures. Anyways, we have a big old crater, smaller crater. If you're not familiar with these tiles, they mark difficult terrain with little triangle marks. We have, ballista, and either some, looks like basically some planks to make a fence or something. Then you can flip it over, and on the back, we have a bit of fence. We have a broken ballista, we have a grouping of dead soldiers, and what looks like a couple of practice dummies, and then a little hill. So, it's tile 1. Tile 2 includes a random entrance into a dungeon. It's just sort of here in the middle of the grass. A battering ram, a corner piece of fence, and some broken ruins of buildings. And on the back, we get tents, a single tent, another crater, somewhere in between the sizes of before, and a wall in construction. So you see the part of the wall, here's the wood for the wall, the shovel, they're digging the post holes. So this is the wall in construction, and what looks like a little bit of a drying up kind of pond, maybe, or sludgy pond, perhaps. Just a big sort of gash in the land, a crevice and mostly open field with a bit of difficult terrain, and river or campsite. Now this is definitely a tile that I have from the core set. So some of them are absolutely the same as the old core set. Road, sort of a little wilderness environment, the tree and a little pond, Stonehenge or river. Again, they're just sort of open field, the road, or the tower, which I already have, and that. So some of them, like this tower, it might be a little weird to have, you know, unless you have two broken down towers right next to each other and whatever. But I mean, it kind of be weird to use both of them. However, areas like this, if you set up a map tile that uses, you know, because obviously these, you know, they punch out. If you set up a map tile that uses a bunch of these next to each other, and you turn, like this one, you know, one of them maybe this way, and then one of them turned the other way, you could totally, you know, reuse this side of it multiple times and setting up sort of a big, you know, open field map. And that's kind of my thought with having duplicates of this set, was all of these ones that are just sort of bits of wilderness work great with just having some duplicates to, you know, fill the table with, here is the environment. So yeah. And we have a little weird shaped pond and a road crossing over a river that has a little, maybe there's a bit of a blockage under the river that a bit of a lake is formed as the stream is going down, you know. We have a ridge or a rock outcropping, a little hut we're building here on the side of a bit of a pond, and then we got whatever looks like a destroyed old statue maybe used to be there, some log, it's like a boat and a raft sitting on the ground, and of course boat and raft sitting on the water, and that log is also something that could float, so there it is, and there's the statue not broken. This is pretty, and I don't feel like I've seen this, so maybe this is new. We have like sort of a pond with some of the rocky outcroppings here, some bushes that make difficult terrain here. Yeah, that's a pretty little thing that I don't think I've seen. Another edge of this lake. I don't know if we had the lake edge in the original. I'm trying to think, because it's been a while since I've specifically looked at what came in that, because I have some of the other sets as well. I don't know. I'm just getting some ideas for maybe how I could, you know, have a big battlefield with sort of a lake on one area, and I don't know. Yeah, you definitely do some cool things with this. Sort of within the water, sort of a little island with a little building set on it. Ooh, that's nice. So we have river again, only with that growth, you know, difficult terrain. Maybe you'd be able to get across the river using the plant life. And then here's this sort of amongst the lake, a bridge that crosses two sections of it. All right. More of the water, and it's like almost like, with this growth, it's almost like marshland or something maybe. I mean, here's like even a section with some of that growth and a tree in the water. Looks like the end of a road where it hits some difficult terrain and just sort of stops. A little pond and some corner bits of the water. Another bridge going over a section of water. Little outcroppings of land onto the water. Another little lake. Bridge over a smaller section. So we have a number of different bridge options here. More shores. Sections of the water that just have this growth in them, as well as a big section with a big log in it. Same log on the ground. Here's a log bridge. Some sections where maybe the water's, you know, coming out into the land, or sections of water with the rock in it, or rock near a shore. So tying some of these visual elements where maybe before, when I just had the original set and you had like just a rock in the middle of the ground, it looked weird. But if there's a bunch of them around, it looks like it's part of the, you know, the local terrain. So, and then we get what feels a little more dungeony kind of terrain. But still, it's, you know, along the edge of this sort of wilderness. And is this just a little bitty one here, sort of a wall, and literally nothing here that suggests it's not just in a dungeon, I guess. But little bits of sort of where what you maybe used to be a dungeon that has been broken down is sort of being reclaimed by the land, and you get some of the rubble there. It's like a well. That could be the entrance to the, you know, part of the, maybe this, you know, temple here, you know, has been ruined, but there's a dungeon below that you can access by the well. Broken statue. Ooh, getting another sort of a visual look. Some stone tablets here. Bit of cropping of trees, and some trees on the edge of it, the wilderness, just sort of the fields that have like a path that go into them. More sections of trees. I don't want to see. I mean, and to some extent, it's not too jarring that, you know, they have the edge against each other, because obviously the trees aren't going to line up perfectly each as they go over, but it's not too jarring. Sort of a tree line, fallen down, dead tree, and sort of just a little rocky, difficult terrain area. More of that dungeon look, which I guess means that, like, the way these tiles are set up gives the tree look on one side and this sort of fallen temple look on the other. So, build on that. And, whoa, okay. I actually have some of this set that I got from the used gaming auction, but this set doesn't match the other at all. As you notice, the water doesn't look the same. So for the water tiles, they don't look the same. And obviously the desert doesn't match to the normal wilderness, but we got whatever big rocky outcropping, some difficult terrain, there's thicker parts of the sand, the rock, little palm tree here. More of the desert dunes, spits of, you know, sand and rocks, and sort of a river that's kind of going through the desert area. Obviously, you're going to have desert. You're going to need plenty of it. Although it does look like maybe this is an area where it's like trying to make the desert meet a border with the grassy terrain. Like here, you can see, you know, river in the desert on this side, going into grassy terrain, river on this side. Which is actually transitioning between the two different looks of the water. So there's at least that. More, you know, palm trees and a little lake, some dunes and such. More of that transition from the grass going to the desert, although admittedly the coloration of these desert tiles and these ones aren't the same, because matching it this looks like it matches the grassy area better, but it does so by not being the same as the other tiles. Sort of a boat to traverse the waters in, and big fancy tent. Here are more of this is the color that matches the rest of the desert tiles, but sort of shorelines and river going out to the shore within that sort of sandy tile look. And more of the desert tiles, with rocky outcroppings or sort of dunes that make for difficult terrain, and the back side of this has a shoreline and just several tiles for that sort of water within the desert, which I guess is good since we have that boat to traverse it. But yeah, so that is what the Reincarnated dungeon tiles for the wilderness looks like. Definitely, I feel like, for one, I feel like it's more tiles. If I'm assessing it correctly, than were in the original, Dungeon Tiles Wilderness. That being said, not all of them go together. All of the desert ones, they have the thing to try and, transition it, but there are a lot fewer of them, and I kind of almost wish that maybe they'd, split these out as the backside of, double as many tiles, so that if you wanted to use all of them, you could use both sides of all of them just by having it all on one, and then... Because it just doesn't feel like you're going to use this with the other Wilderness tiles. I'm perfectly happy with it, because, like I said, having some tiles from back in the 4th edition collection, these are just building on what I already have, and so I have enough of them that I can actually do something with it. But it almost feels like this is hardly enough to do... you can do a small desert scene, and to be fair, not every map needs to be huge. To be fair, I've had combats that I could do on a single one of the tiles. So, it's not like it's like, oh, nothing you can do with this. Definitely things you can do with it, but, I don't know. Part of me just feels like if we'd have gotten more of the grassy look tiles that match what's already, match the rest of the set, it could just expand better. But as it is, with the grassy tiles we have, I could basically fill the majority of my table. And that's really, I'm not going to be doing much more than that anyway. So that would be I can make a giant battlefield as it is. I don't know. Just looking through these does leave me a little inspired for maybe next time I get to a nice open wilderness to try and do a combat with them. But also in part, I've been running a game in the Underdark for a long time, and it might just be me thinking, oh, the longings for open terrain. One day we will see the sun again. But I will enjoy the dark caverns while I am there. But yeah, in general, am I going to pick up the other 2 Dungeon Tiles Reincarnated sets? Maybe. My personal mindset is, even for the actual cost, where $25 suggested retail, not bad. You get a good chunk of tiles, definitely enough to do a couple different layouts for a mat. If I'm going to be spending 10 to 15 otherwise for a mat, might not be such a bad idea. And particularly because I can combine them with the sets that I already have. The biggest downside that I tend to see for these compared to the Paizo maps is the Paizo maps I just have on my shelf and I can just pick out and go. I've actually had sessions, I have them set up now where they're next to me where I'm running my game, and I have actually had sessions where I'm like, I need something here. This one. And we're good. I didn't think I needed to have a tactical combat, and I realized I did. I can just go with it. These, you kind of have to prepare ahead. There's not as easy of a way to flip through. But other than needing to prepare ahead, if you were going to be preparing ahead for an encounter anyways, which most of the time when I end up with an encounter, that's the way that it happened, then these work just fine. And they're just a lot more modular. You can set it up in a lot of different ways. So, if you're going to be running outdoor sort of encounters, whether big open fields or marshes or a little bit on the edge of the forest without going too much into it because there weren't too many, or a little bit on the edge of a destroyed temple because there's not too much of it, or in a small area of desert, then yeah. But marsh and open fields with those kind of things on the outskirts, perfect for that. Admittedly, because they're not, it doesn't feel like they're fully supporting the line again. I don't feel like we're going to get a bunch of new stuff. But as far as them bringing back the old tiles that they'd already done from 4th edition, I think they packaged it pretty well. as far as giving you a good mix of stuff from previous adventures. I'll, of course, link below where you can check it out, pick it up online. I'm sure you can also pick it up from your friendly local gaming store. Otherwise, if you enjoyed, like, comment if you have any ideas. If, oh, here's how I would manage to make it make sense for us to have a desert right next to your open field. This is how. If you have an idea, let me know. Comment below with your ideas for how to use the tiles. And subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks for watching. Bye.